Redshift here, doing my part to shift perceptions out of the pink and into the red. Women rule men through pleasure, such as sex, agreeableness, etc., and men rule women through pain, spanking, withdrawal of sex, withdrawal of provision, withdrawal of procreation, in other words, going MGTOW, etc. And this is important to understand, right? That women rule men through pleasure and men rule women through pain. So if men are unwilling to withdraw things, spank women, whatever, then men are actually, not ruling women. And this is not good because men need to rule women. Women need to be ruled. They're a destructive force to society if they're not ruled, right? So this needs to be understood. I also, regarding spanking, I've said before that like women should not be spanked in a titillation type of way before, but I've given that more thought, and I think that perhaps I'm wrong but this is a little bit more of a complicated subject because, see, if you spank women like as titillation and as not titillation, but you may say, oh, well, that's not much of a punishment because it just turns her on when you spank her just as purely punishment for her misbehaving, right? Well, okay, but if she's really misbehaving, then you should be withdrawing sex as well. And if you're turning her on by spanking her, but you're not giving her sex, well, then that is a punishment, right? Because, it's not a punishment to withdraw sex if the person's not horny. But if they're horny and you're withdrawing and you're keeping them from having sex, then that is a punishment, right? So then that is, in a sense, a punishment through pain because, being unable to satisfy your sexual needs is suffering. So you can make women suffer that way by spanking them and turning them on and thereby, making them suffer by not giving them sex. So that increases the effectiveness of the withdrawal of sex punishment, right? Like Islam recommends. But of course, now you may say that, well, this increases the odds of a woman cheating on you then. Well, yeah, but doesn't that make it all the more important then that you don't let her, that you live in a commune and so she's, away from evil women who might influence her to cheat, and she's only around other good women who don't cheat, and she's not allowed to use the internet, not allowed to listen to modern music, etc., so that she doesn't have any kind of nefarious influence on her, so that she's far less likely to cheat, and all the guys in the commune are highly moral guys who would never sleep with her, because they would never sleep with some other man's wife in the commune because they're loyal to the commune. You see what I mean? Like, yeah, it would probably cause a normal woman outside of a commune to cheat if you spank her and that turns her on, but you refuse to have sex with her as her punishment, right? But, if you live in a commune, I think that punishment can be quite effective. So, yeah, this is important to say. And then I also said in the script that, you got to use physical force against top men who are being tyrannical or promiscuous so as to keep the civilization's contract in effect by forcibly exsanguinating those top men to force those top men to adhere to the social contract. Force the ones who survive, that is. The social contract being monogamy and no premarital sex and no extramarital sex and no promiscuity and almost no divorce, etc. If you understand this truth, then you understand why both male hedonism is bad and leads to slavery, as well as why spanking women is an essential part of a functional society. You have to understand that women rule men through pleasure and men rule women through pain. And men rule other men through pain or death as well. So the only way to deal with the psychotic promiscuous elites, including the psychotic promiscuous, top MGTOW men, the hedonistic promiscuous MGTOW men, are really not men at all, because hedonism is a sign, it's a feminine quality. It's not a masculine quality. So these top promiscuous men are incredibly feminine, but, they're also very, very masculine because they're high testosterone, they're above average testosterone, and they're above average IQs. But these guys are very foolish and hedonistic, and they're never going to see the truth because they're not truly looking for it, because they're just satisfied enjoying their lives. So they're never gonna see that, at least not on their own, or unless someone points it out to them, that, promiscuity increases the incel problem and therefore increases gynocentrism. As MGTOW gets bigger, gynocentrism will increase, not decrease, because the incel problem will increase, not decrease, because the bigger MGTOW gets, the bigger both percentages of MGTOW get. The bottom 30 or 70 or 80% or whatever of MGTOW men who are incels, and the top, 5 or 10 or 20% of MGTOW men who are not incels and who are very promiscuous. As MGTOW gets bigger, both sides will get bigger. It'll still be, 20% of the top 10 or 5 or 20% of MGTOW men will still be promiscuous, no matter how big or small MGTOW gets. So the bigger it gets, the bigger the percentage of men who are being promiscuous will get. You see, not bigger percentage of the MGTOW men out of MGTOWs, but bigger percentage out of society. The bigger the percentage of men in society will be being promiscuous. And so these men will be increasing the incel problem and therefore increasing the gynocentrism problem, or increasing the number of killing sprees, which will increase the tyranny as the government, bans the Second Amendment, and then the tyranny will really ramp up after the Second Amendment is gone. And so, it's a situation where it's like, you're not going to ever understand, a functional society unless you understand this fact. All these facts that I'm talking about here, right? And you got to understand that male hedonism is bad and leads to slavery, and that spanking women is essential. And if you don't understand that, women rule men through pleasure, and men rule women through pain, and men rule other men through pain or threat of death, if you don't understand this, you don't understand, how to run a functional society. And then there will never be freedom or prosperity or peace again. And you'll just be enslaved further and further until you understand these facts, and you either start forming a eugenic commune, or you use violence along with millions of other people to overthrow the government. Another thing I want to say is that MGTOW makes men far more asshole-ish and more cowardly and inactive and unprincipled, and these are all just aspects of immorality, unvirtuousness. In other words, MGTOW makes men far less moral, and any movement, philosophy, profession, religion, etc. that makes people less moral is a bad movement, bad philosophy, bad religion, bad profession, etc. Freedom is only for moral people. You can't have a free society without a moral populace. The Founding Fathers understood this, and they were quite clear about it. If someone is being truly moral, then they are contributing to the very existence of freedom in society, and if someone is being immoral, such as promiscuous, vicious, unfaithful, disloyal, lazy, cowardly, hedonistic, etc., whether he's blue pill or red pill, then that person is contributing to society being full of tyranny, slavery, poverty, and misery. MGTOW is bringing about tyranny by bringing about tyranny's prerequisite, an immoral populace, an unvirtuous populace. MGTOW is promiscuous, hedonistic, and cowardly, and immoral in other ways, callous, vicious, etc. Psychopathy, and another thing I want to say in this video, is that psychopathy mimics virtue and wisdom because it appears that a psychopath is calm because of wisdom and non-attachment, but actually the psychopath is calm because he just doesn't care about anybody but himself. He doesn't have wisdom, he just has calm. He doesn't have Buddhist-style non-attachment, which contains compassion. He just doesn't care about anyone, sometimes not even himself, although he cares more about himself than about anybody else. The fact that psychopathy automatically mimics virtue is a big problem, and this happens even without the psychopath trying to mimic virtue. His nature just makes him automatically appear virtuous, even though he's not. And his aggression, the psychopath's aggression, which if he's a guy, he usually has, because psychopaths are often more aggressive, his aggression mimics righteous indignation. But the psychopath is not actually righteously indignant because he's not righteous. He's actually just aggressive and offended at the stupidity of others and at the harm that has been done to him by other psychopaths. But he's not opposing the evil out of compassion for others, he's just opposing it out of selfishness. And yet his high aggression and anger at the evil makes it seem like he's a good person, even though he's just a selfish psychopath and is nothing like a good person is. He's nothing even close to similar to a good person. And another thing I want to say in this video is that life is about two things, fighting and having sex, or actually in evolutionary terms, procreating. And men are the real human beings, because men, compared to the XXers, men are more inclined toward both things, that is, fighting and having sex, than women are. Men are far more inclined toward violence. Men have much higher testosterone, and men have much higher sex drives than women as well. So men possess both of the fundamental drives in larger amounts than women do. Although I suppose you could say that the drive to procreate is a drive that women have, and most men do not have, at least not to the same degree that women do. Men want to have sex, but men don't want to have kids nearly as much as women do. And so women possess that particular drive more than men do. But still, men possess both fundamental drives of human beings, to fuck and to fight, whereas women only have one of those fundamental drives, to have kids. It's sort of a matter of personal preference whether you want to call men's sex drive a procreation drive or not. It used to be a procreation drive in a sense because there's no modern birth control, and thus most procreation eventually led to, pregnancy. But birth control has turned men's procreation drive into something that is merely a sex drive. It's separated the procreation and the sex drives, which were never separated before, in human history. Although admittedly, top men of the past had some sex out of wedlock and tried to avoid getting those girls pregnant, and middle-class married couples also used herbs and her monthly cycle, awareness of it to try to avoid pregnancy because they didn't want to have more kids than they could afford to have. But it was still a matter of sex eventually usually leading to procreation. And another thing I want to say in this video is that success and progress are dependent on taking responsibility for one's failures. And this is why patriarchy and anarcho-capitalism are essential, because women and the elites are incapable of taking responsibility for their failures because women are irrational and foolish and weak, and currently, that is at this point in history, at least in America, they're also rebellious as well. And they're also genetically designed to shift blame. And the elites are, irresponsible because they're deluded because of their egos and because of their separation from the common people. That is, they're living in ivory towers. So functionality will only return to society once the state, the government, is destroyed. Because the government is inherently delusional, right? And destroying the government will not only bring back responsibility and therefore progress, but it will also automatically put women back under the control of men. It may seem like women are now more useful than men are because women have better memory. Oh yeah, and this is another thing I want to say in this video, different topic. It may seem like women are now more useful than men are because women have better memories and we are living in the information age, but we don't need more people learning more retarded bullshit, like how to jump through all the retarded hoops the government demands that people jump through. We instead need more freedom, more creativity, more virtue, more wisdom, more efficiency, etc. And yes, we do need more IQ and more memory, but what good is memory if all you're memorizing is the bullshit that government wants you to memorize, that is lies. In other words, lies. That's what happens. Women just believe whatever they're told by government or the corporations or their stupid husband, and then, like a liberal husband, and then women know a lot of stuff, but it's all stupid stuff. It's all retarded, deceptive, misleading bullshit, lies and propaganda and all kinds of negative stuff that's really not true or productive at all. It's neither true nor productive. So if you want more freedom, more creativity, more virtue, more wisdom, more efficiency in society, which we should want, then those things come mostly from men, not from women. So it's actually not advantageous, even today, that women be in the workforce. XXers should not be in the workforce, but neither should they be idle. XXers should be marrying between the age of 16 and 24 and then should start having kids right away or almost right away. This will keep them out of the workforce and off the cock carousel and will prevent them from drinking alcohol, smoking pot, cheating, and will also prevent women from being lazy. And most men's inability today to marry and start having kids right away points to the importance of having anarcho-capitalism so that as many men as possible can get married at a decent age. Let's say, 22 to 32 years old, because all guys will be far more prosperous in an ANCAP country, and therefore all women will be more prosperous in an ANCAP country as well, because in an ANCAP country, nearly all women will be married, and thus the family will be richer because the man is richer. So the XXers will be living much nicer lives as well, and they will be able to afford more piano lessons and Mandarin lessons and karate lessons for their kids as well, making the next generation happier, smarter, better defending themselves, more confident, more well-rounded, more integrated with, China's control of the world, more successful, etc. And then those fathers will be able to teach those skills to their sons, because these kids will grow up knowing Mandarin, knowing karate, knowing piano, all kinds of other things. And then those fathers, when they get older and have kids, they'll be able to teach those skills to their sons and daughters themselves, and they'll not even have to pay for lessons. And then if dad and mom know English and Mandarin because of having taken Mandarin lessons as a kid, then those parents can teach their kids to be bilingual from birth and won't have to pay for lessons. So they'll save money and their kids will know Mandarin even better than they do because they will have learned it from birth. Same thing with piano, karate, and everything else. The earlier you start learning something, the better you're going to be at it. So in terms of lineage of that genetic line, the expense of those lessons will only have to be paid once. And then after that, every generation will be able to pass those skills down, father to child, and they won't have to pay for lessons, and will thus have more money to invest, or will be able to use that money to give their kid other lessons. So their kid will learn Mandarin and karate and stuff from birth, but will also be given other professional lessons that their parents do have to pay for, things their parents don't know. And then that kid will be even more knowledgeable and skilled and well-rounded and successful than his father is. And then he will have even more skills to pass down to his son, right? And thus skill and power and wealth will just accumulate more and more generation after generation. And this is a good thing. And of course, if everybody's having at least 1 or 2 kids by sperm bank sperm, like everybody has like 6 kids, but they have 1 or 2 kids by sperm bank sperm, or 3 kids by sperm bank sperm or something, then or tons of families do that, even if not in communes, they're just, all families know that that's the wise thing to do and they're all doing that, then all their grandkids will have higher IQs than them and thus greater mental capacity, higher IQ and better memory, and thus their kids will be able to learn more and more and more skills with each generation. Because if you have a bad memory or something, it's hard to learn and stuff doesn't stick in your head, so you're very limited in your capacity. You see, even if you have a high IQ. So, these kids having higher IQs and better memories means they'll have more and more and more capacity as they get eugenically better generation after generation because of having sperm bank sperm kids as well. And so this means that, you will be able to teach your kids more and more and more and more. So your genetic line will get better and better and better and better. And actually, it's not cuckoldish to raise 3 kids that are genetically yours, you as a guy. Raise 3 kids that are genetically yours you had with your wife, and 3 kids that are not genetically yours that your wife impregnated herself with sperm bank sperm with your permission from some sperm bank guy with 180 IQ sperm. A sperm from a guy with 180 IQ and a really, 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 really good memory. Right? That's actually not cuckish at all, because your grandkids would be marrying kids, your kids, your genetic kids would be marrying kids. The kids of yours that are genetically yours would be marrying people that they're not related to anyway, and your grandkids would be marrying kids that they're not related to anyway. So your genetic line, your family tree is supposed to have branches. It's supposed to be diluting your genetic line anyway, just like you're a dilution of your father with your mother's genes. You see, so it's what you need is more high IQ kids in society. Is what you need. Everybody needs to have more kids, and some of those kids need to be sperm bank sperm kids, so that each generation, every 2 generations, but eventually every generation, the IQs are getting higher and higher and higher and higher because of every generation you having sperm bank sperm kids. You see what I'm saying? So really, this is the only way to increase capacity and make sure everybody's more and more skilled every generation, and also therefore make it so that everybody's more and more capable of dealing with the government, dealing with this, high information world and all the rest of it, right? And another thing I want to say in this video is that exsanguinating people solves all problems. Now, some people will say that exsanguinating people does not make housing affordable and does not write code, but I will respond by saying that the people who are making housing unaffordable and the people who are getting in the way of the subversive coders are the people who deserve the exsanguination. And therefore, things will automatically get better if we exsanguinate the bad people who are getting in the way of things getting better. So yes, exsanguinating people really does solve all problems. Hence the importance of the Second Amendment. And another thing I want to say in this video is that the immorality of men, the unvirtuousness of men, MGTOW or otherwise, gives reason for feminism to exist. Because when power and freedom are not believed to come from morality, and when men are as immoral, as unvirtuous as women are, then male authority is not recognized as the good thing that it is, and is instead seen as a form of oppression. Which it kind of is if men are unvirtuous. If men are unvirtuous, then men leading society is oppression. It's only when men are morally superior is patriarchy viable and not oppressive, and does it, therefore, make sense, and will women go along with the end of feminism? Women are not going to support the death of feminism if men are being just as immoral as women are, And plus it fuels feminism by, fueling the narrative that men are oppressors, So it makes sense to view male authority as oppression if men are just as unvirtuous as women. Why should men have authority over women if men are no longer moral? Because with, men have higher IQs, that's why. No, that's not a reason why, because with a higher IQ, men can be just more destructive. IQ is a morally neutral quality. It's a societally neutral quality as to whether it's destructive or constructive. So only if you have morality will your IQ be used for good, and will it improve society and increase humanity's chances of survival and make everybody more prosperous and happy and all the rest of it. If men have higher IQs but just as bad morals as women do, then men will be more destructive than women would if women were in charge. So really, men have to have morals. Like this whole like discarding morality thing that MGTOW was doing is retarded. It's just going to make feminism more justified. It's just going to make feminism stronger, and it's going to also, make it so the women don't join men's side, so that men cannot unite against the government with women, and then the tyranny lasts way longer than it should, and then maybe humanity goes extinct because of that, right? And another thing I want to say in this video is that there's an example of Illuminati symbolism in Season 2, Episode 7 of Legacies. They showed the Kabbalah Tree of Life. It wasn't super obvious because all the lines between the things were like kind of curved and they went in an unusual way, not the typical connections between the Sephirot of the Tree of Life that you normally see, but there were 10 circles and they were arranged in the shape of the Kabbalah Tree of Life, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. So it definitely was a Kabbalah reference. And also another thing that I wanted to point out is that there's a commercial for a pharmaceutical drug called Emgality, which was promoting miscegenation between whites and blacks. And there was an H&M commercial with gay propaganda in it. It showed two guys kissing. And there's a Fundación para la Vida Mejor, which is a Spanish version of Foundation for a Better Life. And in that Fundación para la Vida Mejor commercial, it promoted miscegenation as well. And that's basically all I had to say. Oh, a little bit more, actually. But I wrote it after I said this has been Redshift. So, this has been Redshift. I hope you got some out of this video, and I hope you start making your own content. No one listens to me, and so it's up to you, the more charming subscribers of mine, to make your own videos and promote them in a charming, visually pleasing way so as to spread the insights in my videos more widely. Because why should I keep making videos if no one's going to do their part in spreading these ideas? You have the knowledge from having received it from me. But because you aren't very populous, because there's very few people who watch my videos, it does very little if you don't spread those insights. Especially the fundamental ones about communes, promiscuity causing gynocentrism from causing incels, therefore male promiscuity increasing gynocentrism, not decreasing it, and therefore MGTOW increasing gynocentrism, not decreasing it. The truth about, serial monogamy causing 50% of men to be incels, promiscuity causing even more percentage of men to be incels. Spreading these insights so that you need to spread these insights so that it makes lots more people know these things. And then they can spread them to the insights to still more people. And then society can actually be changed for the better. I'm just the seed. You're the soil and the water and the sun. You have to do your part to spread these insights so that it affects the whole MGTOW community and therefore the whole country and therefore the whole world. Actions have consequences. Do your part. Make the world a better place by spreading these ideas by making your own videos. The more people who say these mathematically impossible to disprove things, such as that serial monogamy makes 50% of men into incels, the more people who say these things, the more people will start to be more open-minded about these ideas, and will then come to see the obvious and undeniable truth that, monogamy is the only way to run society. And then the world will start to change for the better as everyone starts to realize that until we get advanced companion bots that are also affordable for most men, the only way to have a functional, peaceful, prosperous, happy, male-enfranchising, non-gynocentric society is to have monogamous traditionalism. So do your part. Just make one video per week. Just a 5-minute unscripted video. You may think it will accomplish nothing, but it will accomplish a lot if you keep up. If you keep it up, if you keep doing it every week. You don't have to copy all my videos, just copy the ideas of my best videos and present it in a more concise, funny way with some visuals. And that alone will be, huge, work toward advancing these ideas and therefore huge work toward making the world a better place. Your channel will be better than mine then. And you'll be making videos that pare my ideas down to their essential, and then you'll only be promoting my best ideas. And then your channel will eventually get more popular than mine, especially if you put pictures in your videos and you have a sense of humor. So do your part. The world needs you to do your part. Hit the thumbs up if you like this video. Hit the thumbs down if you hated it. Peace trucks.